Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are. This is Mr. Shakespeare here again with you on the 3rd of January, 2024. I'm joined today with psychic medium and remote viewer, Liz Cross. How are you doing today, Liz?
They don't know the discussion we had before I hit the record button. You're being a good sport. I will go ahead and tell the audience Mr. Shakespeare did not want to do this probe. But anyway, moving on. Thank you for being a good sport.
No, I didn't want to do it because I think it's pointless, but hey, you know. Anyway, apparently we have to probe the Harvard woman that's resigned, the chairman, the president. There was lots of chat, I remember, at the time when she got the post. She seems to have got herself in a bit of hot water, and she's now left. So her name is, what is her name? Claudine Gay? That's it.
Dr. Claudine Gay. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is all down to when she was testifying at the House Committee on Education and Workforce. And right, so okay, you'll need to get a connection with her then, please, Liz.
I have a connection with her. She's actually quite easy to probe. As I'm first impressions on her energy, extremely depressed.
What, because
very
she's
low.
Yep. Okay. Is this because of her just because of her situation, or the limelight, or the spotlight that's been shoved upon her? I mean, what's getting her down?
What's getting you down? It's the spotlight, the assault and assassination on her character. She feels like she is being unfairly treated. She feels like she was just doing what she was told to do.
And so she's an order taker, not an order maker then, is that right? She takes orders?
Yes, she takes orders.
Okay, who gives her the orders then?
Who gives you the orders? She's showing me she's doing her hands in like a circular motion. And I don't know if it's a board. It seems like some sort of board, but she takes orders. She's telling me there's old sweats and old connections that have been tied into Harvard for many generations, and they call the shots.
Well, yeah, but I mean, that's been well known for a long time. Did she not know that when she accepted the position? And if so, why did she accept the position in the first place?
Did you not know that one? Yeah, she knew that, but she thought that, look, she's telling me I was the face of Harvard, right? She's telling me that she was, insured by all of these higher ups, all of these people that are really running Harvard. She's telling me, they said, you have nothing to worry about. We always have your back. We will defend you.
Okay, but I mean, that in itself is naive, because if she understood that people were running her, then there's a phrase used to be used in the newspaper industry: drop the dead donkey. When she's of no use or something goes wrong, they will drop her, and that looks like it's happened. So let's bring in Bill Ackman, who's a billionaire. Where is he? There he is. He's one of the guys that gives a lot of money to Harvard. Let's probe him.
Bill Ackman. Okay.
Oh, sorry, Ackman. Yeah, not Ackerman. Ackman. Sorry.
Billionaire Harvard alum Bill Ackman. Yes, I have a good connection with him. I can tell you straight up, he doesn't take any mess from anybody. He calls the shots. He always gets what he wants.
Oh, well. What a surprise, a billionaire saying that. Yeah.
Well,
Cool.
that is a common theme that we have
It
found
is.
across all of our billionaires. That's true.
Right.
They're not billionaires because they're a doormat, that's for sure.
No. So, how much involvement did he have? Well, okay, let's go back to Claudine Gay for a minute. Let's just hold Ackman there and just ask Claudine Gay something.
Mhm.
Right. Was she forced out or did she resign of her own free volition?
Let's see, Dr. Claudine Gay. Were you forced out? No, she chose to leave. Now that
Right.
that answer surprises me. It
Okay.
really
Why did
does. To be honest with you, I thought that she would have been forced out.
so did she, in other words, did she jump before she was pushed?
Did you jump
So
before?
she could hold some
Exactly.
sort. Yeah. So she was trying to hold some sort of moral high ground by jumping, knowing that she was going to get pushed anyway.
She did not like this character assassination.
No. Okay.
She really did not. And what I get from her is that overall, she does treat people quite fairly. She is quite non confrontational. I get that very strongly. Whereas this Ackman, you would never have a confrontation with him because you would lose, right? Because he likes confrontation. They thrive on that.
Hmm.
But for her, she actually does not like confrontation.
Okay. Let's
And
go
she's
back.
saying to me, it didn't matter what she said at this point
No.
because everybody's on the attack. So whatever
But does
came,
she not bear any? Does she not bear any response? I mean, this all stems from the evidence and the hearing at the hearing and the education committee and the. She was asked some very direct questions, and she would not answer them in a way that most people would have expected her to answer. I mean, her troubles didn't really start until after that.
why did you not answer the direct questions? Well, she's a very, in her mind, she's a very clever person.
Hmm.
And she has always responded in that way. She never really gives direct answers. She always gives sort of, you know, possible answers, but not direct answers. And that's her MO.
Okay.
Now,
But the
you and
problem
I
is
know.
in law there is a thing, acquiescence is silence is acquiescence. So if you're silent about something, you're basically agreeing, with what we're saying. But she didn't really come across as super helpful to the committee at all. I mean, I watched some of the I mean, she was holding back and she wouldn't say this and prevaricating. You can see why some people are like, hold on a minute. I'll ask you a question, just answer it. She's supposed to be the head of Harvard. Um, and it was the education and whatever committee that was asking her. Well, let's just hold her there a bit and let's get Bill
She
back.
she was trying to save her position. She knew
Yeah, I
her
know what she was
position at
trying to
that
do. I
point
know, but
was on the line.
well, yeah, because she'd allowed certain things to go on at Harvard that you know, was not on the correct, not on the agenda. Let's put it that way.
Okay, so let's ask her this question before we move to him. When that committee hearing took place, were you told or advised by the higher ups to not answer the questions directly? And that's exactly right.
Right. She was told to sort of, I mean,
Not answer direct questions. She was
right.
told to avoid the questions as much as
Yeah,
possible.
because it's the same. Because if you don't answer yes, you don't answer no, then nobody really knows what your position is. And the idea is that you can skip through the middle. But um,
But it didn't work
does
out
she
that
not
way.
understand who backs Harvard? Does she not understand who puts a lot of money into Harvard? One of which is obviously Bill Ackman. You
Do you
know,
understand who puts money into Harvard? Yes, and they have to court and they have to appease, and they hold several events for all of these donors every year.
Okay.
That is that mainly your position? I mean, from her point of view, that's her main position, is to court the donors, to, appease them, have interaction with these donors. And she thought that she was doing a good job. Listen, she is saying again, I was only doing what I was told to do. They told me not to answer questions, which I'm very good at.
Hmm.
And I said, well, that was something you said you'd done most of your life. Yeah, she goes, it's gotten me very far in life. Now, you can't really blame her. And I'll say this, how many politicians do you know that answer direct questions overall?
I understand that, but she's not a politician. If she was a politician, we'd all understand it. She's the top. Well, she's the head honcho at on the public face of Harvard.
Yes.
Mm. All right, let's ask Bill Ackman a question.
Okay. Interesting probe. Interesting probe. See, this is why I wanted to do it. Okay. What would you like to know about him? He's angry.
Okay, how much influence did he have in Gay's removal?
How much?
Whether she fell on her own sword or walked, I mean, it doesn't really matter. She's gone. So, how much pressure did he bring to bear?
How much pressure did you bring for her removal? Ultimate pressure. He
Mm-hmm.
refused to donate any more money
Mm-hmm.
until what he's telling me, his own personal thoughts, feelings, and opinions, the anti-Semitism was stamped out. Anti-Semitism has no place in any institution, particularly Harvard.
Mm. Right. And you can, from his point of view, I mean, you're going to have to, you understand that. I mean, he's a billionaire, he's Jewish, and he pays a lot of money to Harvard. And the last thing he wants to see is any anti-Semitism in Harvard. And unfortunately, that's exactly what was coming out of Harvard. Now, that one they got wrong, and she's had to go. So he may well
Are
be a
they
hard
just
man.
making her?
He may well be a hard. I mean, you can understand it. People don't pay all these money into these institutions, for not to have influence and not to have, maybe they do it for tax or ego or whatever. It doesn't really matter. If he's putting a lot of money in, this guy's not putting a couple of grand in a year, is he? He's putting a
No,
lot of.
he does put a lot of money in, and as you said, tax and ego. I asked him, and he's not. He's
No,
not doing it for tax. He's not doing it for ego. He does it because he genuinely loves Harvard.
right. Okay. Well, it's the same as the corporations and the medical, that give money to the politicians, to the senators and the congressmen. They want their point across. There's no real difference.
When you donate money, especially in large quantities to an institution, you actually can call a lot of the shots. You can
Of
say
course.
exactly what that money is allocated for. So,
Yeah.
say he donated that money and it was specifically allocated for scholarships.
Yeah.
They would not be able to use that money for anything else other than things related to or direct scholarships.
Right. I agree. I mean, because it's his choice. He doesn't have to donate. He can just not donate.
Well, so let's ask him this. Now that Dr. Gay has gone, are you going to resume your funding to Harvard? He's considering it.
Yeah, apparently he might want the board to stand down as well because they obviously were part of this. Is that still true? It says here in the Mail, which obviously believe
The
at your own
Daily
risk,
Fail.
the Daily Fail. It says here that he's now calling for the board to stand down too. Is that true?
Yes, he does. Because, okay, this confirms what we just got from Dr. Gay, which is, she says, I was doing what the board told me to do.
Right.
He is fully aware that the board were fueling her and feeding her what she was supposed to do and how she was supposed to handle this situation. And he thinks that they are just as guilty as she is. Do you believe that Dr. Gay is a scapegoat? No, no, he doesn't believe that. She should have taken a stand against anti-Semitism. And if she was truly a president of Harvard, he says, she would have gone against the board and taken a stand. That's what Harvard represents. But she, as he quickly found out, he's saying this isn't the first time. This is an ongoing issue where the board just wants somebody who's going to comply with their demands. That's not what Harvard's about, he's saying. He said Harvard is about your isolated opinion and standing up for what is right. And that's where he believes she failed. He says you've got to have a fighter in that position, not just a figurehead that takes answers or takes direction from a board. So is it a requirement that the board must leave in order for you to resume your funding? He says, I don't know. So he's still debating, he's thinking about this.
Yeah.
And what do you mean that most of the board should leave? And he said, yes, I would like to see a majority of the board go. A few can remain. So apparently, I don't know how big this board is, but it feels like there's a few Jewish people on this board. And he's saying basically they can stay because they raised their concerns, but they were outnumbered. There was a vote on this, and he's saying that they can stay, but the rest of them, they need to leave before he'll resume his funding. And he's not the only one. He just said that I'm not the only one. So he is actually meeting and talking with lots of people who donate a lot of money. So he sort of rallied this crew of people together now. And he says, he was quite instrumental, I believe, and all of them were in deciding to pull the funding. And Harvard can't make it without their funding.
Well, there you have it. Okay.
Wow.
That's enough for this one then. Thank you very much.
It's always the money trail. It's so do you believe, I got to ask him, do you believe that anti-Semitism is still rife in Harvard? Yes, he does. And he wants to see it stamped out. He wants to see educated lectures, more involvement in World War II lectures and the anti-Semitism that was going on during that time. That's where Americans are actually quite spoiled in a way. And I know this because, obviously I'm British. I lived in the UK for many years as well. It is drummed into people in the UK and Europe, never again, right? Never again. The anti-Semitism, the genocide against any race or religion, and it's all the time in your face. History, history, history. Not so much over here, right? They may get a page or two out of a history book, but on the grand scale, it's not seen as something that was a huge, important part of American history. They're more concerned with like the Revolution, the Civil War, the gold rush, things like that. You don't hear about this stuff too much in American history books. And I tell you, it's dwindling down even more. So this Ackman, he actually wants like an onslaught of education. Do you believe that this anti-Semitism is just due to a lack of education and awareness. And in his own personal thoughts, feelings, and opinions, he just gave me a yes. So there you go. This is a heavy one. Watch this space, Mr. Shakespeare. I'll stop this one here.